So before we start, I just want to give a heads up. Um, Being an honest human being and everything, I would say in my best honesty, and since this is my 13th semester teaching this class, this right here, guys, is one of the most boringest sections that I probably would teach. Okay, Unit 7 is very infamous. The reason is that there's a lot to catch on, and then later on it just becomes very dull. Okay, I try to change it many times. It just doesn't work. Okay, so I want to give you a heads up because normally a lot of students they usually always give me back a feedback that they never really enjoy unit number 7 have, and I totally agree with them. And the reason, of course, is it talks about dashboards, it talks about performance measurement and evaluation. There is minor math here, and I fixed it up because I tried to explain it to you guys a little bit better. But irregardless, it is a very dry class. Okay, I'll try to make it better, okay, as much as I can. No, I don't have any. I don't have any. Videos, especially Super Bowl um, commercials. But I will try to make it as entertaining as possible. Okay, and have you guys out and about, irregardless. So in today's conversation, we're going to be talking primarily on progress, performance, measurement, and evaluation. So this is where you, as a project leader, especially start to understand the whole concept of, creating a dashboard, stepping into it, seeing if it is relevant, seeing it if it's available, and making sure that you definitely can understand a little bit more on the premise of hopefully making your I'm hoping your dashboard a little bit eventful, and eventually making sure that there are deliverables that need to be made. Okay, think about it like a human being. You want to look at the health of a human being. You go to checkup. Okay, you do a checkup on it, and you want to make sure that everything is running smoothly on it. Okay, and it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You check up on it. You want to make sure that your specific diagnostics is going to be up to par and things are going really, really well. Okay, so the same thing in the dashboard. Okay, you want to make sure that you're not losing any money here. We want to make sure that the work breakdown structure is being controlled very well. Every work package is being contained, and there is going to be an important element of making sure you can monitor the progress. Okay, so today's conversation, we're jumping almost at the end. You can taste it, you can feel it, yet it's not there, even though last half of the class is over. Last week, of course, we took up teams, okay, and teams was the great U-turn we did with estimation, defining a project, the organization, strategy, and introduction. And currently, we're monitoring the progress, which is very, very close to Unit 10, which is going to be project closure. However, we're kind of teasing you guys, I would say, because what we're going to do is unit number 8 is going to be monitoring looking at the project manager. And then unit number 9, which is a little bit nicer, it's outsourcing, and that's where unit number 10 comes in. Okay, the great hopscotch. Okay, and hopefully the next 4 weeks is going to be productive. You guys will have quite a lot on your hands, including you guys will have your team report that you will make for me. You guys will have some other areas that you will look at. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to be on your plate right now, and you want to make sure that hopefully you can do it properly. Okay. Other than that, like I mentioned, this particular class is dry. Okay, so please bear with me. Okay, let's make it funner. Let's make it a little bit wetter. I'm not sure if that's a really better word to say it, but try to make it as nice as possible and hopefully try to make it something that you can enjoy. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the 4 steps of controlling a project. We're going to talk to you how to control a project properly. Again, please remember, guys, that some projects, they do take, weeks, and you can control it very well. Some would take months, okay, years, and you have to control it. You have to make sure that everything is going proper and there is no problem whatsoever. So we're going to utilize and hopefully look at what a Gantt chart is and monitoring a performance for a Gantt chart. And we're going to talk about what a Gantt chart is and how we got to a Gantt chart. We're going to understand the and hopefully appreciate the significance of earned value and what earned value means and how EVM, earned value management, can be used when you can create a little bit more, okay, and how you can create a little bit more and eventually calculate and interpret cost and schedule variance. Also talk about calculation and interpreting performance and the percentile indexes. All right, and that's where kind of the class becomes a little bit of like, huh, what does it mean? However, to give you guys a better notion on it, I will give you a way that you can monitor it properly so that there will not be a problem whatsoever, and hopefully forecast final project costs. So again, when you start your project, how much does it cost? How do you calculate it in the middle of your assessment? And then what is going to be the final cost at the end? Given, of course, what we talked about with variance in dollars, with the appreciation of money, how does this all work? How do we identify and manage a scope creep and making sure that our project is going to be managed altogether? So hopefully in a chapter outline for today, we're going to structure a project monitoring information system. We're going to look on the project control process. We're going to monitor a time performance, look at earned value management systems, developing a status of hypothetical examples, and looking at indexes to monitor the progress. Okay, we're going to look at forecasting final project costs and looking at other controlling issues as well. And we're going to make sure that those are going to be very, very easy and simplistic. And then, of course, we are going to hopefully look at ethics, okay, and talk a little bit about how ethics is making a little bit of a comeback, okay, and that's where your learning to be 7 is going to be all about. So today, guys, we're going to identify roles of ethical leadership that plays on the project. We're going to create an environment that reviews ethical standards, like we can review our dashboard and making sure not only our dashboard is healthy, but also we're going to make sure that our ethics is going to be up to standards. We're in compliance, we're doing everything correctly, and it is going to be a good project altogether. We're also going to assess the system of moral values that individuals bring to the table. What does the project manager does? How can they navigate the items into conflict? Will be with their own ethics. How can we communicate to the project team members the approach to be taken to resolve ethical dilemmas and determine the most appropriate way to update and communicate project information systems, and definitely respond to requests from various stakeholders, such as the informational systems. Okay, so we're going to make sure that making sure that you can look at your dashboard, you can monitor your dashboard, making sure that when you walk into the office every single morning, 9 in the morning or 6 for your case, you will have a proper dashboard, making sure that if there's a problem, deal with it. If there's an issue, handle it. Make sure that everything is going to be on par with you guys, okay? Also, we're going to be hopefully looking at structure of project management system. And to get us going in the beginning of our class, I want to talk a little bit about monitoring systems and what does the monitoring system involves. So a lot of times when we look at systems, hello, Schlock, you're on mic. Ooh. When you're talking about
Hi,
the
sir.
hello. When you're talking about the monitoring system, it involves a lot about understanding the structure of the project and understanding how the information system can help you. Numbers, crunching, and all the good stuff will come very, very handy. So we want to determine what data needs to be collected. We want to determine how, when, if, and who will collect the data. So we know exactly that if we have to go back to that person, we can. We want to analyze the data by itself and report on current progress and making sure that the information is going to be relevant. Okay. So you might want to ask yourself, there's data everywhere, data everywhere. What information is relevant? And the information that needs to be relevant is based upon you as a project manager. So the information needs to be collected to answer a lot of the questions. Are we healthy? Are we up to par? Is this project going like we wanted to? Is this project, not, costing us a way ton of money? Is the progress as we expected it, and is everything going fine and dandy? If that question is good, we're going to look at what is the current status of the project in terms of scheduling and cost, and how much will it cost to complete the project. Okay, so we want to make sure that everything will be done. When will the project be completed? How and if, and again, are there any potential problems that need to be addressed? Okay, so we're going to be looking at all these major issues: what, who, when, and how. Where are the causes for cost and scheduling overruns? And if there is a cost overrun midway in the project, can we at least forecast some completion in the overrun and make sure that all this information will be taken care of? So this is where the information needs to be collected. We need to be monitoring the progress. And of course, when we collect data and analyze it, we're going to look at the data that needs to be collected by the project team, the contractors, and the independent cost engineers, as well as the project office and the project manager. And of course, we have to make sure that everything is going to be up to par. So we're going to be making sure that the information has to be derived electronically from some form of data. And definitely we should report the period, definitely making sure that it can be done within an hour, within a day, within a week, or whatever the agreement is. Okay. But nonetheless, there has to be a centralized data location, not just locations that, pop up in the middle of the day. We have to make sure that there is what we call the central repository system for data and information that needs to be collected, and somebody is responsible for it. Okay, you need to take this information, dissect it, and make sure it can make sense in your project. Okay, and most importantly, every so often you need to make reports. Okay, you need to make a report and report to specific individuals. So the question now: who gets the progress report? How do they read it? How do they see it? How do they even understand it? And how will the reports be transmitted? Would it be done one-on-one in the office, or however you would like? When will it be distributed and transmitted? That again, should it be done every week, every month? You have to create that kind of rules of engagement. And of course, a common topic format for progress reports. What was the last progress since the last report? When was it made? What is the current status of the project? What is the schedule on it? What's the cost, scope altogether? Different cumulative trends that we come together on it. What was any of the problems and issues being made since the last report? Any actions and resolutions of earlier problems? Any new variants being made? Did you find anything that occurred? What happened before? What happened today? How can you fix it? And of course, any corrective action that should and hopefully can be made in your project. Okay. The whole idea here is control. Okay. We want to control the scope. We want to make sure that if we give you an idea, you're not going to run away with the idea and say, oh, well, by the way, I have a better idea and here is my resolution. No, relax there, my friend. You need to focus on my scope, okay? But another thing you need to do is control the project properly. You need to make sure that the project is formulating properly and there's no problems whatsoever. So please remember, guys, control is the major theme here, okay? You need to make sure when you're monitoring a project, the control of the project is there. You need to control the scope. You need to control the cost, the schedule, the quality. You need to make sure that everything is running smoothly. You are the boss. You are the leader. You are the future of project management. and you need to make sure that everything is running smoothly. Okay. So in the process, you're comparing the actual performance against the plan, figuring out the deviations between one and the other, evaluating any possible alternative course of action, and taking the appropriate corrective action that needs to be done so that you can fix it. Okay. There will be problems. Okay. People will leave, delays will be made, costs will go up, and you need to make sure it is controlled by you. Okay. Authorized by you, made by you, created by you. Okay. So the 4 steps on controlling a proper project, okay, and project control systems is measuring, evaluating project performance. And the 4 major steps you need to make here is setting a baseline plan, okay, creating a baseline plan, not just saying, hi, I'm doing a project, let's just see what's going on, okay, creating a baseline plan altogether, measuring progress performance and making sure that the progress performance is going to be there, comparing plans against actual plans altogether, and of course, taking some necessary action, not ignoring it, okay, not putting it all together. And this definitely comes down to, I would probably, put it easier, making some formulated actions, okay? And we talked about, some conflicts, and there is solutions on conflicts. One of the things that we do not want is a conflict happening and then just brushing it aside, saying, you know what, leave it for now and it will fix by itself. It doesn't, okay? Once you have a problem, that problem sticks forever. Trust me. And when you take action, you have to take the necessary steps. The question is, do you want to take steps today, tomorrow, in the future? What is going to happen and how you're going to take it? It's all down to you. So the question now is how do you monitor time and performance? Okay. So typically, tools used for communication project and schedule status will be made. When we look at things like the Gantt chart or the bar chart is the most favorite and liked used item. The Gantt chart came out of the theater of warfare during World War One. They used Gantt charts to plot together how they're going to move, okay? And basically, in order for you to move a carriage, you need to move the ammunition. In order to move the ammunition, you need to move your man. In order to move your man, you need to move all the items the man need. So basically, it connects the dots together and makes sure that by the time that the sun sets, everything will be in the trenches and that you will be ready to formulate a new warfare tomorrow morning. Okay. So the Gantt chart is very likely used. It's very easy to understand. Okay. It's easier to understand for people who never saw it before, people who never understood a project. Coming first is a tracking Gantt chart, but a lot of times I call it the original Gantt chart, of course, that was created by William Gantt in the First World War. So what the Gantt chart will have is a chart you can control all the plots being used in differences between the scheduled actual time on a critical path and at the given point on the project itself. All right. So you're going to be looking at milestones. You're going to making sure of how to get there. And oftentimes it's making sure that when you give it to your stakeholders, they can be informed easily. And a lot of people are visual learners. And a lot of times they like to look at a Gantt chart to say to themselves, okay, well, the project is going as needed instead of giving reports and then looking at the reports and ourselves and saying, what does this mean? How does this help us? What can you do to inform us later on? And what does this have to do with our project? Okay. All of these are going to be handled properly, and all of these are going to make sure that the project will have some accomplishment altogether. So it's all about milestones, our significant project events that hopefully mark a major accomplishment of ourselves. And typically speaking, when you look at baseline tracking Gantt charts, a lot of times when there is a Gantt chart, normally what's going to happen is you're going to have a certain time. They're going to monitor it. Again, how you monitor it is your own responsibility. But in many cases, you have a baseline duration. And let's say when you look at the first one up here, you can clearly see that this is our game plan in week number 0. Okay. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F. We have six major items you have to do in our project, and we were giving, say, about 14 weeks to complete it, max. Okay, but we're gonna do it in 12 weeks. That's our goal. Okay, so our goal is that A is going to take us 2 weeks. B, once A is done, B and C can start at the same time. One is 3 weeks, one is 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Okay, and then when you finish B, all of a sudden you can start to D. Okay, create 1, 2, 3 weeks there. Maybe E can take maybe a week, but then we have a slack time that we can extend it to 2. And if everything is done properly by week number 8, hint, week number 8 here, we can definitely be able to complete our last task in about 4 weeks in week 12, and thus telling us that in week 12, we are done. This is our goal here. Okay. Week 12 will be the end result here. Okay. But the question is, are we on track here? Okay. And then when you look in the second one, the second Gantt chart, we have some reality. Okay. Reality kicks in. And in this particular case, what happens is that it we're going to be looking on the week number 6 because it's going to be in the middle of our project. It turns out that we're not fully on schedule here. Okay. And then when we look at our goal that we want to put in together, our goal is not the same. Okay. So it means that, A was perfect. Okay. Not a problem here. So was B. C was a little bit ahead of time, which is not a bad problem. Okay. But then when we look at the reality here, we set our goals together and we realize that maybe this project needs more time, needs more effort. Why? Well, let's take our hands. Let's take the triangle. Okay. The perfect triangle. Maybe schedule wasn't off. Maybe the quality wasn't there. Okay. Maybe funding was not made. And as a result, we need to play around with it. Okay. So it seems that there is a little bit of a problem, not an issue here. But what happens is that D might take a little longer. Okay. We proposed that we're going to give it 3 weeks. However, we are comfortable with 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks altogether. All right. And because D is heavily related to F right here, what's going to happen is we need an extra week ahead. Okay. So now we have to go back to our client or our stakeholders and say, listen, guys, I promise you in week 12, you're giving us 14 weeks, but I need an extra week. Give us an extra week to do this. You're going to get the most amazing project in the world, but you have to agree to extend the project. Okay. And this is something we would like to do. And how do we get to it? Well, because of course, the problem is we want to extend D a little bit. And of course, if E, we had some slack, we told them that we need about 2 weeks. We were given 2 weeks. However, if we needed an extra 2 weeks to complete everything, we could. Okay. So the goal is that we're going to look at our project in, let's say, week number 0, our first week together. And in our 6th week, which was last week, we're going to review what's going to happen. And then we're going to give a reality check. We're going to ask ourselves, can we be able to monitor the progress? And the question now is, we could, but we may be behind schedule. And we realized that by, I think, in the first few weeks, especially in C, we were a little bit ahead of schedule, behind schedule. And as a result, things were delayed. Okay. So it's almost like a traffic jam where something happens, down, 7, exits from you, but it affects you as well. Because when one car slows down, the other car slow down, and then you're in a little bit of a jam. Okay. How do you get out of it? When you pass, of course, maybe the 5th or 6th exit, and then you get to 7th exit, then it becomes a little bit easier to drive. Okay. So this is the same thing of project schedules. In a project schedule, what's going to happen is that you're going to be either ahead of schedule or behind schedule. And it seems that when you do the analysis, you were on par in week number 0, but then in the first weeks, you were behind schedule. All right. You were behind the schedule for about 3 weeks. And only in the 4th week, you start to break even. All right. So what this means is that we realized that the first 3 weeks, we were behind schedule. And then the other weeks, either we were on schedule or ahead of schedule. We're saving time. So what this tells us here is that we are heading towards further schedules, but instead of finishing in week 12, we're more comfortable finishing in week 13. And as a result, when the schedule ends, we want to figure out how the next, 5, 6, 7 weeks is going to look like. Okay, so this is going to be a monitoring of your dashboard. You're going to be sitting down, and let's say we're in week number 6, you're going to be sitting down and you're going to talk about how your schedule is going to be all about. You're going to be looking at your schedule and assuming what is the outcome of your schedule and how does the schedule get put all together. Okay. Now, I gave you only an idea of how the schedule is going to look like. It doesn't mean it's going to actually be what it is, but it is going to give you a bit of a crystal ball to assume what's going to be in the future. Okay. And again, when you look at this at a dashboard, think of it like a dashboard of a car. Okay. You look at a dashboard of a car, you want to see exactly how healthy your car is. Does it have oil? Does it have brake problems? Does it have a light showing up? Okay. This tells you exactly how fast you're going and what are you doing to make sure that this problem doesn't exist. However, guys, I always give you the bad news. All right. But I'm not a bad news person. I'm a good news human being. Okay. And I think I hope you guys will agree with me. I try to make this dry class a little bit funner, and I gave you a little bit of a heads up. However, I always talk about the bad side of projects. I never talk to you about the good side of projects. And sometimes, let's assume if this 3 weeks here, right here, come on, give me the pen. If this 3 weeks right here were better and it was up here, what you had is earned value. All right. And you can actually save value and maybe finish the project ahead of time. Could happen. Okay. Um, so what happens here is that under earned value management system, you can actually earn some value in your project. And now what you can do is look at it and say, well, what are we going to do with the extra time? Okay. Because as you guys know, time is valuable. Time is money. Okay. Money is time. Time is money. And if you save it, you get put it in your pocket. That's a good thing, right? So EVM came out of a methodology that combines scope of the project, schedule, money, resources, budget, you name it, as a measurement tool to assess project performance and how the progress of a project is going. It was pioneered back in the 60s by the United States Department of Defense, basically the Pentagon. And what they realized is that they realized that some of the projects were going ahead of schedule. Okay, meaning that the Department of Defense, the U.S. government, gives you X amount of millions of dollars to create this project. Turns out that the companies that are doing it ahead of schedule, and then coming back to us to say, listen, we're done the project. You told us to do it for 5 months and $2 million, and I came back to you saying it took me 3 months and $1.5 million, meaning that I have an extra $500 million, $500,000. What would you like me to do with that money? All right. Would you like me to give you a gold plate? Would you like me to add a website on it, even though in the 1960s there's no internet? What would you like me to do on it? Okay, so they realized that projects were going ahead of schedule, and if they go ahead of schedule, it saves you money. Because as you guys know, we developed a work breakdown structure, we developed a work package, and we created a system that allowed us to be able to evaluate what the work breakdown structure is and how it could help us all together. So what occurred here is that we used several acronyms and equations for the analysis. And guys, that's where this class is going to go a little bit, oh man, this is the boringest class ever. And trust me, guys, I always hear about this class. It's the infamous class, but we talk about acronyms and then we calculate the acronyms. It's very simple. Either we minus it or add it, but and divide it as well as an index. But that's about it. Okay. You don't have to worry about it. And in fact, I'll show you exactly point by point how to do it. And we use the information of the equations and the data to develop a work breakdown structure. And of course, project networks and schedules altogether. Okay, how to get to the final aspect. We look at starts with the time phasing of the cost and provide the project budget baselines, which is called the plan budget value at work schedule PV. And then we look at the comparisons that can be made with the actual and planned schedule cost. And what we do here is when we look at the actual planned cost of the work, we want to give you all the items all together and be able to calculate them for you. So what they came up with is a glossary of different terms and analogies, and they came up with some items that could assist us all together. For example, like earned value. Okay, earned value is basically on their glossary is what the work has been accomplished. Okay, work accomplished. It's often measured of the terms of percentile, meaning that like, are you like 25% done? Are you 100% done? 80% done? Where are you right now? Where's the schedule at? Where are you at the timeline? Meaning that, you know, we're like 60% done, but in reality, our project is really 50% at completion. Okay, we're at the 60 percentile, 50% done, meaning that we need to catch up. Okay, doesn't mean we need more money. We just need to catch up somewhere. Okay, we need to kind of burn some steam. Okay, if that makes any sense. Earned value is a simple percentile of times being completed on the budget work. So the older acronym on it when it was developed was called PCWP, budgeted cost at work being completed. So earned value is kind of like the head honcho here. Then you have PV, which is schedule, planned time phase of the baseline of the value of the work being scheduled. It's the approved cost of the estimates of resources and schedules and the cumulative baseline. So originally it was called the budgeted cost of work scheduled, or better known as BCWS. And then of course, with the EV and PV, you have the actual cost, okay? How much is the actual cost? The formula of the sum of the costs incurred in accomplishing the work, all right? The actual cost of work being performed, okay? And of course, beyond that, you also have cost variance, okay? Cost variance is going to be the difference between the earned value and the actual cost for the work being completed and where the data is, okay? So again, you look at cost variance, and in cost variance, it's the earned value minus the actual cost, okay? So on the cost variance, what's gonna happen is your earned value, what you made, minus your actual cost, and this is the cost, the difference between both of them. So we start to get a little bit of a calculation here, okay? When you minus your earned value, how much money you made, minus how much the actual cost is, it becomes either a plus or a minus, okay? You're over or you're under the budget, or you broke even, depends on where you are. Then you have schedule variance, same exact thing, except here you calculate not the actual cost, you calculate the schedule, okay? So you look at schedule variance in differences between your earned value and a baseline to where the date is, and then you start to calculate it all together. Other than that, you also have other different calculations altogether. Budget cost at completion, total budget cost at the baseline within the project cost accounts, and estimated cost at the completion date, okay? You also have estimated cost at the completion of the remaining work, different cost variance at the completion, okay? VAC, the cost of variance, is the expected actual over or under amount, and how this will calculate for you altogether, okay? So when you start to look at all these different scenarios, you start to develop an integrated cost schedule system, and that schedule system will start to give you 5 different variants, okay? Number one, it can start to define the work using the work breakdown structure. All right, we talked about it. All right, this is where this class comes together here. Work breakdown structure will let you know about the scope, the work packages that you have to do in order to make it. Okay, every deliverable that needs to be connected, conjoined together, the organizational units, different resources, budget for each of the work package, and then the developed work and resource schedule that you need to make. Okay, so you look at the schedule resources towards your activities, the time phase of the work package into the network, and then you develop a time phase budget using work packages included in the activity called the plan budget cost of work scheduled, the PV. And at the work package level, you're going to look at the actual cost of the work, what needs to be performed, the actual cost of the work being completed, your AC. And then you're going to look at a percentile that you multiply a complete number of the original budget amount of what to be earned in value, your earned value management criteria. Okay. So what's the idea here is you compute the schedule of variance. Okay. So your schedule of variance is your earned value minus your schedule variance PV, or your cost variance, your earned value minus your actual cost. And then you get to a certain point in which you can start to control your information. Okay. So you look at the data, and again, please remember, we saw this before. We have your work breakdown structure, okay, where you start to align how the project is going to be done. You look at your resources, which is the organization, and both of them coming together will give you the work package, when to do it, who's going to do it, the labor, materials, support efforts, all these scenarios that come together, your budget, your responsibilities, performance standards, and then you start to plan, schedule your baselines all together. Okay. And then you're going to look at your control, where you look at the time, the cost, and specifications of the project, different deliverables and organizational outcomes. And the goal is that you want to develop a project baseline from those areas altogether. So the purpose of the baseline is very simple, guys. The purpose is that you want to look at the measurement of the report progress. You want to look at the estimated cash flows on how to get those items all together. Different rules in assigning costs to the baseline. Costs are placed in time phases in the baseline, and the exact items as managers are expected to be earned. Okay. A lot of times a percentile being completed is a workhorse on the most common items. Someone definitely familiar with each task can go in, decide, well, if you have different team members, you sit down with them and say, where are you right now? You're familiar with the task. What kind of percentile are you done with it? Has it been completed, or how much it needs to be remained? You sit down with them, you calculate, and then you come to a conclusion. This is the baseline altogether. Okay. So when you look at the costs that are including the baseline is the full summary of the cost accounts on each account and the sum of work packages in each of the cost accounts going together. So again, the free direct costs that we're always going to be looking at is that direct costs are typically used in labor, in equipment, in materials as well. And those particular areas will give us different methodologies in which we can start to calculate and use as a percentile as well. So again, when you look at the baseline of what needs to be done, you look at the methodologies of all the project baseline, the methodologies, and then you compare all the earned value with the expected schedule variance, okay, the expected value. You look at the actual cost, and you are going to assess your actual cost based on the current status of the project and the free data elements. Okay, you're going to look at the planned cost of the work schedule. You're going to look at the budget cost of work being completed, and the actual cost of work being completed at the actual budget. Okay, so you're going to look at your schedule variance or PV, earn value, okay, what you earn for it, okay. Don't think of it as a negative thing. Think of the positives. You save some time, you save money. Put it together, it's like hurrah. Okay, what can I do with it? Okay, but what can I do with extra money laying in the project? Okay, and then you're calculating the actual cost, meaning that this is the reality, and then it comes to a number that says to you that you actually saved a little bit of money. Okay, so you compute the schedule variance SV and the cost variance, and a positive variance indicates a desirable condition, meaning that you're actually saving money and you're doing good. However, the opposite, if you get a negative variance, there is an issue here. Okay, either an issue that you miscalculated, an issue that something is not going as planned and there needs to be necessary action that needs to be made. Okay, changes have to be taken because again, if you remember, this is a conflict. If you ignore it and say, forget about it, it will come back and haunt you. Trust me, guys. I was in that position before. I was like, forget it. Life will fix itself out. It does not. And unfortunately, it will become a big issue. Okay. So again, in cost variance, guys, CV, cost variance is your earned value minus your actual cost. Cost variance gives us a bit overview on what the work being accomplished, how much it costs more or less than what was planned at a certain point in time. So again, in our earlier Gantt chart, we did in 6 months. Sorry, in 6 weeks. Okay. In the middle of the project, we said to ourselves, let's sit down, let's have a meeting, and let's decide where we are right now. And with the cost variance, we also did a schedule variance. Okay. We did our earned value minus our schedule variance. And we came to a conclusion, drum roll, please, that our project is needing more time. Okay. So we present the overall assessment of all the work packages in a project within a scheduled dated time. We contain no critical path information, and we measure the progress in terms of dollars rather than time units. Okay, meaning that how much money is being saved on the schedule, where are we right now, and of course, where are we on the variance of completion. If you remember, guys, variance of completion is cost variance at the completion, which indicates the expected actual over under amount. And when you calculate your budgeted at completion, the total budget of the baseline within the project cost accounts, minus your earned actual costs, it will give you where the project is and where the project is going, which is not that bad. So you calculate all these together, and like we did, is we get to a certain point where, again, in the middle of the project, and again, the project is 6 months or 7 months, 6 weeks or 7 weeks, we get to a certain point that the project has different graphs. And if you put this in MS Project, it shows you that the actual cost is over your amount of your schedule variance and earned value. Okay. So if you see here that the line, especially when you do a project, you do it on MS Project, you can see here that the actual earned actual cost is over, meaning that you're paying more money here. Okay, than your actual amount. That means that there's no real earned value being made in this progress. Okay, so what I've come to realize is I came to realize that there is a earned value kind of like graph analysis that come together. And if you're in a certain point like today, where you look at it and say to yourself, well, where am I right now and where the project is going? A lot of times you can see a graph and pinpoint it exactly how it's going to look like. Okay. So when you look at earned value, for example, and like we see AC is over your schedule and your earned variance, what's going to happen is the following. Okay. There's about 4 different scenarios you can be in. Okay. In the first one, where we saw it in our last slide, actual cost is more than your schedule variance and your earned value, meaning there's no value being made here. You're over budget, you're over cost, things are not going well. Your schedule variance will be negative, meaning that you're behind schedule, and your cost variance, meaning that you put a cost of $100,000. Today, it's $120,000. So assuming this project, the first one right here, number 1 on the top left side, okay? This particular project is, let's say the goal was $100,000 in 12 weeks. Now it's $150,000 and 14 weeks. Okay, so we're really behind schedule here. So you don't want to be negative in your schedule variance and your cost variance. Okay. The second one is a little bit different. What happens here if your actual cost is still very high, earned value is made, and then schedule variance is now below? What happens here? Well, when you look at it, your schedule variance is actually a positive, okay, because you're actually saving money here, okay? So it means that you're maybe 12 weeks on schedule, but in order for you to be 12 weeks on schedule, what occurs here is very simple. All right. Your cost variances are negative. Okay. So it means that I was given $100,000. I was given 12 weeks. I will do it in 12 weeks, but in order to do it in 12 weeks, I need $150,000. Okay. I need $50,000 more to do a project so you can get it on time. Okay. And again, this is where it becomes a little bit painful. You have to go to your, you have to go to your, uh, God knows who, your stakeholders or your customers, and then tell them, listen, I will do the project for you, but it will cost you a little bit more. Okay. And because it's going to cost you a little bit more, I need an X amount, but it will be on time. And some people would like that. Okay. Where is the prime location here, guys? It's right here. This is where you want to be. Okay. Where you have positive schedule and positive cost variance. Okay. Meaning you were given $100,000, you're given 12 weeks, and you completed this project in 8 weeks, and you only did $80,000. Okay. So your earned value is really high. Actual cost is, down below, and then your schedule variance is below as well. Okay. So as you can see, as long as your schedule variance is the lowest, actual cost is medium, and then you can create some earned value. Everything is positive. So $100,000 you were given, 12 weeks you were asked to do it, and you did it. Congratulations. It less than a few weeks altogether. Not too shabby here. Okay. So this is where you as a project manager is happy. Here, a little bit iffy. Here, a little bit iffy. And of course, down below, I'll show you as well, a little bit iffy as well. Okay. So again, the last situation you can be in, and then again, when you do the reports, you have, of course, your schedule variance, which is a negative. Okay. It is negative because you're way ahead of time, but your cost variance is positive, which is kind of the opposite. I'm going to do another face here, not the other way around, where in cost variance, you're going to tell the customer, I will do it within your budget, but I need like 15 weeks to do it, but I'll do it with $100,000. Okay. So clearly there's 3 different scenarios which you don't want to be in. But in the last scenario, you can actually tell them, well, instead of, exceeding the amount, I can do it in that amount, but I need more time on it. Okay. Mari, you had a question?
Is this time like halfway through your project, this timeline?
Yes. Yeah. So if you remember the Gantt chart, I gave you in like 6 weeks. This one is like the middle chart. And again, this is only a scenario where you want to look at, and this project is only like 12 weeks. You want to look at a project in the middle. You can look at it maybe week to week, every 3 weeks. It's your call. You're the project manager. I cannot tell you, I cannot, knock on your door when you're a project manager in a lucrative company and just tell you, hey, are you looking at the projects every certain weeks? It's your call how you want to do it. But in this scenario, you're going to look at it in the middle. But you can look at it week to week, month to month, day to day, whatever you would like.
So just so I'm understanding, so in thing number 3, where PV is the present value, right?
No, it's the schedule variance. Yes.
Right.
So PV, it means the schedule.
Okay.
So right here you're talking about?
Yes.
So yeah, so schedule variance is below, and if it's below, and when you do a report and you get an actual cost that's below the earned value, then everything's positive. So again, I gave you $100,000, 12 weeks. You come back to me and you tell me, listen, I did it in 8 weeks and only $80,000. You saved me as a customer $20,000 and a couple of weeks. So now we have an earned value. What are we going to do with it? All right. It happens a lot of times. It happens quite frequently in construction. When you look at condominiums and townhouses, whatever, construction of housing, they would tell you that, we need an X amount, and then they finish it ahead schedule. So what occurs a lot of times in the condo market is that they have some extra time and extra money, and they were given in the project, they can't just take it back to you guys and say, hey, listen, we saved every dweller, every condo owner, you know, X amount of money, and we're gonna give them back like $20,000, right? They usually take it. Unfortunately, they take it and then they make you a new garden or something. They make something really odd here. Okay, they make you a new garden. I've seen different projects actually where they had so much money, they created like this like garden of some sort that was award winning. It was in Vancouver, award winning garden just around the premise, and that's how they kind of save the money. But other times, they created kind of like I've seen it before. They created an extra, layer of uh, what do you call that? Garage maybe, so that they have extra space in the garage. Nowadays, they actually can connect your electricity with your grid, so that if you have like a electric car, you can like stick it in, just buy the box generator to stick it in, and you have yourself a electric the age of electricity here. But there's a lot of things you can do with it. Okay, but you can sometimes your customer may ask you, can I have the money back? Sometimes you can tell them, listen, I have some earned value. Let's allocate it somewhere else. So it's a position where you want to be in. It's a position where you want to ask yourself, how do you use the money and what can you do with it?
Okay, so then just so I'm understanding, the PV is the planned cost of the work scheduled. And then the EV is the budgeted cost of the work completed. So what we've done to date.
Wait, go back. EV is the earned value. So it's basically when you did the calculations, you create some earned value, you created some extra time. And when you calculate it, you create it in a way where it's positive. It gives you a positive outflow so that you're ahead of schedule and your cost is not over.
Okay.
So when you look at the acronyms, earned value allows you to create some different momentums on where the project wants to be going into.
Okay.
Okay. So just Mari, go back into the just I'll show you very quickly. Go back into the when you look into the acronyms, basically earned value is where you are right now, how much money are you making, and and are you over or under it? Okay. So again, when you look at the chart, if you're behind schedule, you lose on earned value, but then there's scenarios on how you can come back and make up for it. Okay. So it's kind of like a middle ground to see where your project is and where your project is going in the future. And these scenarios are where you get on the MS project and are able to kind of assess it, and kind of like these are the graphs of what you can be a part of. Okay. Okay. Moving onwards, when you look at the work breakdown structure and associate with the cost accounts, there is a situation where you kind of want to allocate it to see exactly where the project is going. So what happens here is that when you look at where the project is going, there's different hypothetical assumptions of where it could happen. For example, that each cost account has one work package associated with it. So again, it will represent the activity on the network, and you can associate it based on it. The different project networks have early start times and definitely serve as a basis for assigning the baseline value. And from the moment of the work activity that begins, some actual cost accounts will be incurred, and each project and activity of the onwards activity will be completed onwards. Okay, so the assumption is everything is connected, everything is networked, and what we want to make sure is that every single item has some form of responsibility, as well as a layer that we want to put it all together in. Okay, so assume like we're going to make from the early project from the Gantt chart, we're going to make possibly a prototype for a camera. Okay. So let's say we're going to make a prototype for a digital camera. It's going to cost us $320,000. Okay. So we want to make sure that every single part of the project is allocated properly. For example, we want to look at the organizational breakdown structure. we were given $320,000. Every department was given a certain budget. And the goal here is that we want to allocate it properly so we know exactly where the money is going. Okay, so that none of it is going to be allocated somewhere else. So again, design specifications, the department is going to be allocated $20,000. Shell and power, it's 15,000. Memory software, 100,000. I believe Zoom system of the camera, 35,000, and of course the assembly side, 120,000, and then testing will be allocated together with 30,000. So we want to make sure that every single part of it is going to be allocated properly. And as you can see, assembly has a lot to do with both testing the item, making sure the quality is going to be there, and we're going to make sure that the assembly will also be taken care of. So I gave you 6 parts of a project, and this is a good example of a 6-part project, okay? So beforehand, we made sure that the project will end being with about 12 weeks. The first step we had is about giving us 13 weeks. And in this particular case, when you look at the early project baseline, what you created in week number 0, what we saw here is that in particularly, we created a 11-week schedule, and we saw that in the 11-week schedule, design specifications can take us only 2 weeks, okay? And then 2 weeks for shell and power, okay? However, if we need more time, an extra 2 weeks, we can do it until week 6. Week 6 is very important here. And that's why I wanted to mention week 6. It's kind of straight in the middle. So again, memory software is one of the most important parts. It's going to cost us about $100,000. So we want to kind of allocate more time on it. So in this particular case, we're going to give about 4 weeks. Okay. And then Zoom system, another 3 weeks. But should you need an extra week, you can complete it. Okay. So the reason why the whole A, B, C, D task is very, very important is that by week 6, okay, everything needs to be finished, okay? But we cannot, create design specifications to week 6, okay? That needs to be created and scoped very, very well in the beginning. So again, should you need more time in shell and power, should you need more time in Zoom system, we can do it, okay? But by week 6, everything needs to be done, okay? B, C, and D needs to be completed so that we can go into assembly. In E, we're going to do 3 weeks of assembly and then 2 weeks of testing. And the goal here is that we want to make sure that we could complete this project in the given time, okay? So we're looking for 11 weeks to complete this $320,000 project. However, as we mentioned, not every project is gonna be aligned properly. And unfortunately, some projects might give us a situation where we can facilitate that in the future. It might not give us, earned value, all right? And as a result, why did it not earn us any value? So by looking back at the graph, what you can see here is based on the actual value, there is going to be a scenario where you're going to be over the budget, okay? And because you're over the budget, meaning that you're behind the variance of the cost, you're going to be below what's going to be given. Schedule variance is going to be below, and then there's really no earned value, okay? So basically, this particular project, even in the middle of the project, when you assess it, analyze it, monitor the project, it turns out that there's no variance in cost. There's a negative. Schedule variance is also negative, and as a result, the project is not going as needed, okay? How can we fix it? Well, we're going to look back at the new schedule, and based upon these particular schedules and this particular graph, we realize we need more time. We need more time to complete it. And now the scenario is, as a leader in project management, how could you make this project a little bit better? And what you can do here is you could definitely take this project and decide on how you're going to fix it. So we're going to take the first idea we had down below here, which is going to be design and specifications. And of course, what we're going to be doing is redesigning it. Okay. So we're going to go back into our design specifications. We're going to say to ourselves, well, the actual cost and the baseline is good in A. There's no problem here, but shell and power is a problem. All right. Clear shell and power. I need an extra week, but should I need extra time afterwards? I can do it until week 8. Okay. So we went from week 6 to week 8, 2 more weeks extra. All right. And same thing with memory. Memory is a very expensive side of the project. And we know that we're going to be ahead. We're going to need more time. And as a result, because we are a little bit ahead, or I would say the opposite, more like behind, we're currently in our 7th week analyzing it, and we need more time. Okay. So we're going to finish it by week 8 as well. And same thing with the Zoom system. We actually are needing an extra week as well. But should we need more, we can do it by week number 8. So it means right now that our project, which we saw based on our graph, we asked for about 6 weeks. We were given now 8 weeks altogether. Okay. And now we went from 6 weeks all the way to 8 weeks. And now the project is taking a little bit longer. Okay. So now the assembly has to be changed. The assembly needs to be changed. And now we went from our week 6, okay, to week number 8. Okay. So in week 8, we're going to delay the assembly and we're going to move it to week number 8 so that we can complete it. And that means if that needs to be done week number 8, so does testing. All right. And testing now needs to be moved. We were given 2 weeks of testing. It cannot be done in week number 9 and finished by week number 11. So the goal of finishing in 11 weeks is not there. And of course, we need to complete the project now, hopefully in 13 weeks. Okay. So this gives you a scenario where you stepped in, you did your analysis. And again, you can discuss this a lot that maybe you could have done this maybe in week number 3, week number 6, week number 9. It all depends on how much kind of analysis you want to do. But in this particular problem, we see that we have some issues. We have some scenarios that in week number 8, okay, we're going to delay the project a little bit. And as a result, in the 11 weeks that we're together, we cannot do it. And we need 2 more weeks in this project. Okay. And if we do 2 more weeks, we're able to complete it on schedule. Yes, Milad.
Professor, just as a quick question, do you always plan for this extension in the project, or do you like plan for it when you come to it? Like when you realize that the project is running late, you go for like week 7 and 8, the week 8, or do you plan for this like for the start?
Well, it depends on how many times you want to check your dashboard. Yeah, again, there was a scenario that if you did this by week number 3, you can mitigate it. Okay, but if you look at the different scenarios on earned value, if you clearly see that there is going to be negatives, and if you've done it early on, you can try to mitigate it. You can try to lower it. You can try to make sure that in this particular case, if both the schedule variance and the cost variance are negatives, you can say to yourselves, well, how can I hopefully be able to finish it early on? So this is the scenario where it's your call on how you want to kind of hopefully make sure that the project maybe can be done in 11 weeks.
A continuous evaluation on probably daily basis would help us avoid the scenario of extended the project.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor.
Well, all right. Yeah. So again, how did we go wrong here? And as we saw before, if you do the calculations and you look at your cost accounts, basically what occurred here is that everything was delayed at one point or another. Okay, so when you look at, for example, your design specifications, even though we were on target, there was still a scenario in our project where we were a little bit behind. Okay, and if you do not deal with it early on, maybe in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it means that it can pile up a little bit. Okay, so cost variance piled up again in shell and power. Then when we hit memory and software, it just blew up a little bit on schedules and costs. And then when everything calculated by itself, our calculation saw that we were a little bit behind. Okay, so because of that calculation, that affected our project, that affected our 11-week schedule. All right. And as a result, what occurred here is that we needed more time. We needed more time to complete the project and eventually be able to complete the project on time. Okay. So the goal here is that, we're trying to kind of fix it out a little bit. And hopefully by the testing side, we want to make sure that everything will break even. Okay. Everything will be done easily. And eventually, in order for us to do that, we need we were given, I think, $320,000 to complete it. Maybe you have to go back to your management and tell them we need 400,000 plus we need maybe from 11 weeks, we need 13 weeks. Okay. So this is kind of like a situation where you want to ask yourself, do you need more time on it? Okay. And maybe had you done this earlier, had you done this periodically, maybe you could have had it on 11 weeks at still 400,000. But again, it's all based on your assessment and your graph. Okay. Where does the graph highlight? How does the graph look like? How does it make sure that you can break even? All these scenarios are about project management competencies. Okay. And making sure that you can look at the project, assess it, and then make some readjustments. Okay. Again, it's a dashboard. Where you see a dashboard a lot of times, you see a dashboard in your car. Okay. You drive, you see check engine soon. Many people will just ignore it. They will tell you, oh, it's a glitch, happens all the time. Other people will tell you, well, I'm busy right now. I have no time to go to the station, fix it. They're going to have a lot of problems. But later on, if you ignore it, you're going to break down, your car will break down. And then the problem is you cannot be able to move the car in the future. Okay. And that could really affect your performance and the health of the car. Okay. So you want to make sure that if scenarios like this does occur, you want to mitigate it as soon as possible. Okay. You want to come back and let whoever needs to know create the scenario and create a different case for your project. Okay. So based on project management competencies, guys, there was a recent study made by the Project Management Institute that talked about project management competencies called the PMCD, basically Project Manager Competency Development Index. And it was a framework for what kind of skills are needed for project managers. So they came down and they saw that there were 3 skills that are very, very important for project managers. Number one, they saw that they need technical skills, okay? Technical project manager skills. Again, you can use project management in different scenarios. You can work with engineers, with developers, with retail, service, whatever it is, but you need skills. You need skills about the projects. That's why I always tell you guys, if you want to build a bridge, at least if you do 2 or 3 bridges as assistant or part of a team, you can start to kind of build a bridge altogether. However, you need skills on what the company does, its management, its its product, performance, and so forth. You need to know them. So things like knowledge skills, behavior skills, relate specific domains, the project, the programs, the portfolio management. You need technical aspects of the performance of the project, and you also need leadership skills. Okay, kind of the yin and the yang. You need the knowledge skills of where the project is going, the behaviors needed, how to guide people, motivate them when the project is not going as scheduled, direct the team as much as possible, make sure you can achieve your business objectives and business goals as a company. And both of these will give you a new skill, strategics and business management skills, okay? They will give you specifics on the knowledge and expertise in your industry of what the benchmark is and how the company can enhance the performance and schedules the business outcomes in the future. So again, if you remember, there is a triangle. We've talked about triangle of keeping the scope, the schedule, and the quality, but there's another triangle on the talent of project management. I know this may seem a little bit redundant, but according to the Project Management Institute, while technical project management skills are important and are the core of project management and even operational management. Project Management Institute, they did their research and indicated that they're not enough yet on the technical aspects of the competitive marketplace in today's society. Okay, many companies are seeking added value, added skills in leadership and business goals, but many members of various organizations made a lot of statement that they believe that the competencies can support longer strategic objectives that can contribute to the company's bottom line. Okay, so for them to be the most effective project manager, you have to have a balance of the three skills. You need technical skills. Okay, you need to know what's going in a project, how this project makes us value, how this project makes us money, which is strategy and business management. Basically, we're talking about the vision and the mission of the company. And by having technical and strategic management skills, you create leadership. You take the bull by the horn, you take it, and then you head onwards with it. So the technical project management skills says to us that skills are effectively applied to project management skills to deliver the desired outcome on your programs and proposals of the project. There's a lot of numerous technical project manager skills, and the knowledge area in this particular guide of the project PM book can describe many skills that are needed for being a good project manager. As you guys can tell, project manager skills, they rely on, judgment, what's right and wrong, what you can neglect, what you can make note of. And you have to be aware of personal expertise and where to find others with the needed expertise that are important for the success of your project, okay? And how the project is going to be aligned altogether. So after they did the research, the PMI Institute, they did the research, they realized that in order to be a top project managers consistently demonstrate several key attributes here, okay? A lot of times, most of them are focused on the critical technical project skills, the elements for how to manage a project properly. They focus on a simple task as having the right artifacts. Everything is available. All their tools are needed. And most of the time, top managers are very critical to the success of the project. They focus on what's needed. They know exactly how to schedule things properly. They select financial reports that can give a better in-depth view of the project. They do reports and issues as needed, and they don't neglect it later on. They tailor to both traditional project and agile tools and make sure that they combine both of them together. They figure out different techniques, what works best in different scenarios, in different industries, in different tools and methodologies on the project. And they make time to plan thoroughly and prioritize diligently. They can also manage the project elements, okay, but definitely they focus mostly on scheduling, cost, resources, and what the risks are being paid out for, okay? And that is what the PMI Institute definitely wants you guys to hopefully achieve in the future. All right, any questions up until now? Anything that you guys want me to highlight here on anything we talked about, on the graphs, Gantt charts? Anything particular sticking
Thank
out?
you, Professor.
Sorry, all's good?
Thank you, Professor.
Oh, okay, you're
Everything
welcome.
is clear, yes.
All right, no problem, no problem. As I mentioned, guys, this is a very dry class, okay? The driest class you'll ever see. We're in a bit of a dry spell, but nonetheless, I'll make it fun. But when we come back, I do want to take a break. I'm going to show you a little bit of the math side here, but then I actually created last night a sort of simplification system so that I can give you a easier task on what this all means, okay? So what I want to do is let's be back hopefully in the next few minutes. The time is 7:25. Let's be back at 7:35, okay? Take a 10. Don't leave the class too long, okay? Get some coffee. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna come back for discussion, and I'll see you guys here at 7:35. Okay, 7:35. We will be back, and we will take it up together. Thank you so much. So, guys, please be back at 7:35, and we will restart. Have yourself a good one, and I'll see you guys here at 7:35. Enjoy your break. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us once again. Um, just before we start, as mentioned, it is a quite drier class than before, and a lot of it has to do with project performance. Now, let's guys, depends on where your academia is going. You do have a class later on, which will be mostly on project performance and execution. You will be getting like different scenarios, simulations, so forth. This class is basically just a little bit of a tidbit on it, but it does talk a little bit about the leadership side on what happens in a scenario where all of a sudden you're over budget, you're over schedule, you're under the amount of schedule you're given. What do you do? How do you deal with it? Okay. But irregardless, within our class, we talk a lot about monitoring the progress and making sure that the progress will eventually be an important element for our learning. So when you do the calculations and you do a lot of the formulas, a lot of times you get to performance indexes and you look at cost performance index, which is a CPI. Basically, what you do is instead of going on cost variance and looking at the difference on earned value divided by actual minus actual cost, you're actually going to divide it. Okay. And when you divide it, you get to a percentile point, which can measure the most effective way the work can be accomplished to date based on performance schedules. And you can also look at scheduling performance index as well. Basically, it's SPIFE and I, where you look at an index and the same thing, instead of minusing earned value minus PV, you're dividing it again. So again, you're looking at percentile and that will measure your schedule efficiency to date. And both of them can give you a better light on what the amount should be looking forward to. Beyond that, coming back to a glossary, you can also look at different percentile terms on complete indexes. So for example, PCIB, percent in, complete index budget. So again, your earned value minus the core divided by your estimated cost at completion. BAC, budgeted cost at completion, sorry. And then the percentile of the completed index actual cost, PCIC, your actual cost over your earned value actual cost of it. And even in some industries, for example, like for construction, they have their own index as well. For example, MRI. Again, it's funny, SPY with an I, MRI with actually MRI. Don't get an MRI, please. But management reserve index, which is your cost variance divided by your MR, which is management reserve index. And a lot of times it's done for construction. So it reflects the amount of management reserve that has been allocated with the cost overrun. So again, if you have, for example, a building being created, oops, I'm drawing it terribly wrong and I have all the liner items here. If you have a building being created here, usually manager reserve fund says to you that, let's say you're in the 7th week, you should be here right now, okay? However, because you are in a little bit of a hot potato, you're actually down below. So it means that, let's say, you're at the 50 percentile, you used basically 50% of the manager reserve, but you're kind of below the standard, okay? So it means that you might want to consider how to bring this up a little bit. Okay. So again, in different industries, you have your own index and it will allow you to oversee exactly how you could eventually be able to either accomplish your task or deal with it. The reason why we have indexes at the end of the day is that when you look at indexes, if you have a CPI that's under the 1 percentile range, basically what it allows you to do is that that you're under cost. Okay, you're under cost, you're not spending a lot of money, you're giving $100,000, you're only using a certain amount of it, and you also have a schedule. Okay, so this is the best scenario to be in. All right, where CPI and cost scheduling is going to be under. Sometimes you're on the ball, meaning that you were given $100,000 and the schedule, and you're still on track on it. So it means, of course, you're on cost, on schedule. And of course, when you look at that amount, that is the perfect scenario you want to be in, where you were asked this amount to give, this is the amount you're going to give, and that's it. Sometimes you might be over the amount, okay? So in this case, if you're over the 1 percentile, now you're over cost. So now the project costs you a little bit more, and now you're also behind schedule. All right. So when you look at these different outcomes, you want to make sure that you can create different implications on it. And based on the indexes, of course, you can, jot down in the 7 weeks where you are. Okay. So again, you want to be under the 1 percentile, the 1.1%, and definitely do the calculations to assume where you could actually be in. So there are also different additional earned values that you can create here. Some rules are for short duration activities and also small cost activities as well. In different scenarios, you can apply different short-term rules. For example, the 0-100 rule, which says to us in a different way, it assumes that 100% of the budget is earned when the work package is completed, meaning that, in order to assume that you are going to complete all the work needed, now you can assess, well, based on this number, this is the outcome, okay? And the outcome is in week 13, this is what we saved, okay? So it gives you a different scenario, kind of like the outcome at the end of the day. Then we have the 50-50 rule, where in the middle of the project, you can assume another thing where 50% of the value of the work package and the budget is going to be earned when it is started. And then the other 50% of it is going to be earned when the package is completed. Meaning at first you assess it in the middle, you gain a little bit more. And then at the end of the time, you can reposition it and realize that you even saved a little bit more. All right. So it can help you on that kind of perspective. Different rules are used to gate individuals before the total budget value of an activity can be claimed. So percent need to be completed with the weighted monitoring. And a lot of times you can use the estimated percentile in a combination of tangible monitoring points and oversee where the project is going to be done. However, sometimes you want to guesstimate where the future might look like. And the best way you can do so is forecasting the final cost. So a lot of times, maybe in the middle of a project, your management or your client might come to you and say, listen, give me a forecast where tell me if we're either based on your numbers, are we over the cost? Are we under the cost? Where are we? And what can we do in the future? So when you look at forecasting final project cost, the two methods used to revise the estimate of the future project cost is the revised estimate cost at completion, all right? The estimate cost that you're going to be revising later on. And this particular revision will give some people, especially in different fields, gives you some expertise to change the original baseline duration of your cost and make new information that tells us the original estimate may not be accurate. And as a result, it needs to be revised. Okay. So another different scenario is forecasting at the completion rate. Forecasting at the completion will give us an efficiency of your CPI, your earned value minus your actual cost being applied to the remaining project work. Okay. So the forecast at the completion will give us a new scenario altogether. So the forecasting model is very simple. When you look at the actual cost, and then when you break it down, you're looking at the revised cost of the completion. So your actual cost plus your revised cost altogether, where of course your accumulative actual cost of the work being completed to date is your actual cost. And then your actual estimated cost of the completed remaining work is your ETC. So when you put them together, your actual cost being forecasted is going to be your ETC plus AC. And then whatever the work being remained on top of your CPI over your actual cost will give you another scenario. And then when you break it apart, the total budget on the baseline minus your accumulative budgeted at the complete date over your earned value, over divided by your AC, and your actual cost will give you a new forecasting model. That's to forecast how this might be given. Another more holistic way to do a forecasting is look at the completed performance index, where you look at your budgeted at the baseline minus your earned value, and you divide it also by your budgeted at the baseline minus your actual cost. And those are used as a supplement to estimate the total cost of completion. Okay, so your forecast at the completion, you compute it together. And again, the idea is the 1 percentile. Your goal is to measure the amount of value for each remaining dollar in the budget, and it must earn to stay within the budget. All right, so you look at a ratio of less than 1 percentile that can indicate an ability to complete the project without using all the remaining budgets. Okay, so this gives you another peace of mind. So to show you guys exactly how this kind of forecasting calculation works, look, for example, a particular project that I want to show you here. On this project is called the Red Octopus, was done by an individual named Xavier Hart. That's the project manager, and it shows you the priority that the project is in. It also shows you what the status is as of the 1st of April, and all the figures of the earned value. All right, meaning that the schedule variance is at 588,000, earned value 566,000. As you can see, there's an issue here. And then the actual cost is 596,000. Okay, meaning that we have some minuses here. We're at a loss. Okay, negatives. Negatives at 22,000 at the schedule variance, cost variance at 30,000, and of course all your other different items, your things like, of course, total budget baseline, earned actual value, cost, and the variance will be at a minus. Okay, so you look at all these areas, but nonetheless the CPI, okay, is at below par, is not the 1 percentile, which is a little bit promising. So CPI, your cost percentile index, is going to be at 0.95. Your PCIB is going to be at 0.538, and PCIC, which we start talking about the early calculations of it. PCIC and so forth, the completed index, actual cost is going to be below. Okay, and again, budget cost is also there. Okay, so we want to ask ourselves, how do we get to this scenario? All right, and to do so, we look at the project description. This is a conveyor belt project that moves items in your supply chain with accuracy of less than 1 millimeter. And according to the status summary, the project is 25 days behind schedule. And as a result, it costs us over $3,000 to maintain it. Okay, so clearly we're ahead of, behind the schedule and over budget. Okay, which is not that healthy. So why are we like that? Well, there's a lot of reason, and the reason, according to Xavier, is that the variance moved from non-critical activities to those critical paths, and the integration of the schedule, which we started on March 26th, is now expected to start later on in April. That means that we need 25 days extra, and now we're behind schedule. Why is the schedule? Because we lost a design team member, and also when it's possible to start documentation on February 27th, which is in another 5 days. So the cost variance is largely due to the design change at a cost of $21,000, which has nothing to do with any of our calculations. But major changes happen is that we lost one design member. Total approved cost and design changes is $21,000 we saw. Most of the amount is attributed to the design of the interface of some sort, whatever it is. And the project cost of completion, now the forecast, is now estimated at $1.0107 million. Okay, so $1.1 million is going to be the represented amount of the overrun. And then, of course, when you look at the differentiation, it's around $56,000, which gives us a CPI of 95, meaning that even though our forecast is a little bit off, it means that we're still under par here. Okay, we're not doing bad. So now the new forecast completion date of this project has changed from the first start now to October 23rd. And the risk that we may be assuming here is that 5 team members are stricken with the flu. This is, of course, a monthly report status, which you can be able to take out and do based on the information. How do you simplify this? Okay. To make it easier for you, what I've done last night is that I've broken apart all the necessary scenarios to take a kind of a visual of this particular slide. And then when you look at the calculations, all you have to do here, and the only thing I missed here is a minus, is do the calculations. So for example, how do we get to, of course, I think there's a cost variance of minus $30,000. Well, it's very simple. All right. When we look at, and this is a minus here. When you look at it, you minus your 566,000, minus by 596, and you get to a minus of earned value of $30,000. We're not actually earning value in this project, which is not good. Schedule is not even good. Okay. Schedule now is behind as well. You look at your earned value minus your PV, and again, it's below value. So again, when you look at your graph at a certain point will tell you that in this particular scenario, AC is right here on top. Okay. PV is to follow. Okay. And then your earned value is around here. Okay. So we don't even have any earned value. Now the question is, what can we do right now as of April 1st to make some changes? And again, variance at the actual cost, your BAC minus EAC is around 1 million. And of course, that is a minus, okay? But this is where the good part happens in this project. That when you look at your index and you divide it, you can actually see here that in the index, you actually did the index as divided by earned value minus your actual cost, and you get to about 9,478, whatever it is. You round it off, and it's about 0.95. Okay, so that's not bad. SPY with an I, earned value minus your divided by your PV. It's around 96, 97 percentile. And again, your PCIB is right now at 0.538. Meanwhile, PCIC is at 0.547, okay? So again, when you take these different scenarios, and I just want to show you very quickly how you can point it together, all right? So the first one, your earned value, okay? We saw here that, and I'll just plot it together. Earned value, all right here, over your AC, okay, will give you a scenario that you can actually do the calculation with your CV right here, okay? Same thing, earned value, okay? And your PV. You can also do your schedule variance. So we can clearly see that the numbers are shown, are given to us. Okay, if they're not given to us, unfortunately, we can't do much about it. But if they are shown to you and given to you, you can do a little bit more damage here. Again, with SPY with an I, CPI. When you look at CPI is 0.95, and the way I calculated is did the earned value, okay? EV now divided by your AC. So now all you have to do is divide it, and you get to this number, okay? PCIB, same thing. Earned value, okay? Minus your BAC, which is right here. Well, we take these two right here, okay? And they will be your PCIB. And then PCIC, same thing. Actual cost, which is this one right here, actual cost, over your EAC. And then this will give you this guy right here, PCIC. Did I forget something? Yes, PCIB, sorry. PCIB is now earned value. Well, we'll do another thing, triangle. PCIC minus your BAC, which is this guy right here. You divide it, and then this one will give you this guy right here, PCIB, okay? So again, the idea here is you do the calculations, you put it all together, and it will tell you exactly the health of your project. It'll tell you exactly where your project is going and how you can control it a little bit better. Any questions?
Sir,
Yes.
for the CPI, it said there's a variance of 1%. So do you want to be under or above 1%?
If there's a SPY with an eye with like over 1 percentile, you want to be under, okay? Either under or at par.
Okay, so then this CPI is technically good.
Yeah, CPI is healthy, PCIB is healthy, PCIC is healthy. We're going over, but we still want to make sure that in this part of the project, because the project is finishing on October 23rd, we want to make sure we can break even somehow. So now the scenario comes back to you as a project leader. How can you make sure that by October 23rd, you can complete it and hopefully be able to break even here? Okay, possibly you can bring in a new designer. You can do a lot of things here, okay? But it's all up to you, all right? It's all how you want to do it. You were given a lot of risk here. People had flu, a designer left, there's iOS problems or something. These are all scenarios you have to do. And then when you come back to the project management research we did or was done, again, bring your technical skills, your leadership skills, understanding strategy. Hopefully you can create some, my scenarios here and try to create in the most possible way, a better system that hopefully can be finished by October 23rd, if not earlier. Okay. So now you're given kind of like a challenge and your goal is, can we meet this challenge and do it? And that's kind of where this, very specific calculations should be done, okay? And clearly you see that there's minuses here, but there's also some optimism. There's some good things that you can do so that you can actually create some different forecasting altogether. By the way, guys, there's other different control issues you can do. It's not just one or the other. You can look at other things like technical performance measurement, which is important to measuring schedules and cost variance. So you can look at things, of course, that, how technical is the project, how complicated is the project for individuals in your team, what is the scope creep, how does it, happen, how does it cause different errors, how we can make some minor adjustments. Maybe the scope is not understood by your team. How can you hopefully build a major scope change without affecting the project itself? Definitely look at different changes that will allow you to be more clear within a project if it fails to act on changes. And how can the project be done to improve the baseline significantly, okay? With changes being made, how can we make the change happen? And of course, again, this is more of a management side. If changes happen, how can we change it and do it so that it can be done without a problem? Or, if it can be done, will the customer agree with it? And not only that, will the customer actually pay for it? Okay. Will customers, would you approach a customer and say, listen, if you want this project to be done, you need to spend an extra $400,000. Will you be interested in doing that? And if he says, yeah, sure, I'll do it, then good, you're on the right track. If he says no, we may have a problem. And that's where, you have to kind of like play around with your budget and your schedule to see if you can do it however the customer would prefer. Okay. But please remember, guys, that the more playing around, the more data acquisition, it will cost. Okay. It's very timely and consuming, very costly, and it will come down to different scenarios. Okay. Even change the scope baseline sometimes has different outcomes. And sometimes when you change the scope outline, when you do a forecast in the future, you may get a baseline that's increasing or decreasing. So sometimes you may have a scenario where in some aspects, you might have a issue on getting these scenarios together. And unfortunately, because of that, some of these scenarios might be of a problem. Okay. Other times, you may have scenarios that might say to you, well, the scope has changed, and as a result, this is where we are. But in this particular case, I just want to use the idea of that budget, the project we talked about with the 6 scenarios, 6 steps. We developed it was $320,000. Okay. So if scope changes and we need more, maybe the amount might be 450,000. Okay. Might be 300,000. Okay, but this is the where your goal is. Okay, where your parameter is. Okay, you don't want to be under here. You do not want to be over. But the goal is that you want to make sure that you can approach the customer and tell them, listen, when we look at the scope changes and everything that needs to be modified, this is where we should be. Okay. This actually is funny because when we introduce you guys to the work breakdown structure, remember, guys, we told you there's a scenario where you may be over or under. Okay. You may be over the budget, under the budget. And in this particular case, when you start to create your work breakdown structure, you realize how complicated some projects might be, and you want to tell your customer that there's a discrepancy. Say in this particular case that I drew here, did I write a zero? Yeah, 150,000. Okay, meaning that it can be $20,000 below the budget, or upwards of maybe 130,000 above it. Okay, but the goal is that we want to do 120,000. Okay, and we want to make sure that it can be done properly and hopefully done without any given issue. Okay. Another thing I do want to kind of convey here is communication. Don't forget, guys, communication is very, very, very important. And again, making sure that as a project manager, not only can you look at the health of a project, you can also look at the health of communicating properly. Okay, so you can make sure that if you have milestone reports, who does it, who reads it. Okay, so again, it will be done every twice a month, done by email, and the PMO office is responsible for it. Senior manager looks at it, discusses it, and approves on it. Cost reports, same thing, weekly as risk reports. PMO office is doing it. Staff and customers are going to be looking at it. Any issues can be done by email. Anyone can see it. Staff and customers can overview it. Same thing with team meeting items. You can look at it. Maybe a project manager can do it. And if we need mode of communication, can be done by meetings. Same thing with outsourcing performance, which we're going to be doing hopefully in week 9. We're going to talk about it by a project manager, and the PMO office and the customers will review it. Any change requests, you can do it any time. If changes are needed in a project, changes have to be done. You have to document it and look at the project manager, the customer, and the designer. And of course, the PMO office and the customer will be able to assist you. Okay. And then any decisions with every gate that you're going to be going through, you can do it through monthly, talk with meetings on it, and design it based with PMO office and have senior managers overlook it. Okay, so these are kind of a very simple case on making sure that a good communication plan is going to be done and assessed all together. Other than that, guys, a couple of things that we did discuss this morning with you. We did talk a little bit about the area of control charting and Gantt charting. So again, the goal and the theme for today's class was to talk about how to control your project and make sure your project is healthy. So we talked about controlling a chart, and to do that, we have tracking Gantt chart. We gave you new glossary terms and scenarios, as we mentioned. I gave you the worst scenarios, and the worst scenarios is that your project is losing value and losing any earned value management system. And that's not always good, but in most cases, there are projects that you master and that you actually can make it as fast as possible. So if you can do that, fantastic. That's what I want you guys to do. But nonetheless, there will be some outcomes where you have to calculate your, yes, Mari, you have a question?
Well, with those worst possible outcomes and whatnot, would anyone ever just stop a project?
That's where you would come in and you would decide, should we continue with the project? Should we not? If it's grim and we're losing money and not creating any value, you have to be the one who decides this project is not profitable, and we have to decide that we want to cancel a project.
Okay.
But it's your call, right? You have to create that kind of the push for it. Okay, the client's not going to come to you and say, listen, I want to cancel the project, I don't see it profitable. You have to show them the numbers and tell them, well, it's not really profitable, or maybe it is profitable, but you have to kind of decide where it's going, and doing the calculations does encourage it in a way. If you see that there's no value being made, you can the project however you would like.
Okay.
Yep. So in order to, again, to assess these numbers, again, you do a lot of calculations, different cost variance, earned value we talked about, EV. You look at cost performance index. And again, the whole idea here is we want to make sure that by looking and revising, doing forecasting, looking at things like these items, they could give us a little bit more in depth of what we earned within our project. So the whole idea here is looking at EVM, earned value management system, so that we can be able to decide if we are profitable, if we're on par, or if something is not going right as possible. Okay. The last scenario, as we mentioned, is you want to cancel a project. You don't want to fully cancel a project altogether. You want to make sure that hopefully there is some glow, there is some scenario later on for you. So again, when you look at the manager and reserve index, MRI, there is some different calculations you can add, especially for construction. You can also do completed index of the actual cost, budgeted cost, and schedule variance. You can look at performance of scheduling, SPIFE and I. Definitely control scope creep, because again, people will try to cut corners here and there. Definitely do not want to cut corners in a project. You want to look at variance at completion, and you want to make sure that everything can be done correctly, holistically, and eventually successfully within your project as well. Okay. All right. So some of the key terms we talked about today are shown on the screen. Moving forward, in week number 7, guys, again, I'm not going to go into detail on the PM book. It's your call here. You are required to read part number 1, section 3.4 of the Guide to Project Management by Knowledge, PM book guide. Also, I left you 2 articles today, or this week, on ethical leadership. So how to be ethical in the virtual project teams, and how electronic or digital ethical leadership needs to be done, especially when you're working with remote teams. Was written by Dr. Lee, and also by Professor Mishara et al. On the approach on sustainable projects, how to make sure the project can be motivating and sustainable as well. So I left you these 2 articles for you to read. This week's theme is, we're talking about ethical leadership. And of course, this is a situation that kind of bridge our very drier class together. How do you say no to a project? Okay, how do you say no that this project is not going as scheduled? It happens all the time, guys. And one of the major elements here is that you have to decide that the project is not going as scheduled. And again, where does this come to? Well, coming back to our class on well, not our class, well, our situation in the midterm, we had a situation with Mr. Tran, and Mr. Tran had to decide, after free specific testing, is this project going as scheduled or is it not? And in some opinions, maybe it was not going as scheduled, all right? And you have to decide on ethics, okay? You're wasting the company money, you're frustrating your teammates, things are not going as scheduled. Where do you draw the line here? Okay. And that's where ethical leadership comes in. And by looking at numbers, numbers don't lie. Okay. Numbers do not lie much in different cases. People rely more on quantitative information and qualitative. Okay. So you have to create a environment that promotes ethical behavior and leadership, not only as a project leader, but also with team members. Look for appropriate ways to communicate ethical, dilemmas to stakeholders, be honest with them. And at the end of the day, make sure that you can also be competitive, okay? In today's competitive business environment, many project managers need to ensure that ethical standards should be observed in all fields, including the project management office. Making ethical decisions is never easy, okay? You can also imagine, Tran, should he cancel the project? That's not very ethical, okay? CBEX is going to see it poorly. His teammates are going to see it poorly. It's not going to be a very good scenario. But you have to make choices, okay? And not every ethical dilemma has a right solution, okay? Some people will like it, some people won't. And that's where you have dysfunctional conflicts and mutiny in your team. But nonetheless, guys, ethics and leadership together can add moral dimensions to making good decisions for the success of the project and the welfare of your company, your project management, and beyond. And of course, the necessary elements and the idea, the approach, the pedagogy approach for ethical behavior and effective moral leadership is all down to the project manager. Definitely in today's learning outcome, will help you guys recognize a little bit more on social and ethical responsibilities to decide the ethical dimension to define strategies that will help the success of the project. Ever more so in the global environment that we're in right now, definitely a competitive environment. There is a desire to win for achievement and success. And as always, good success means good bonuses. But definitely people forget ethics, okay, and forget the ethical dilemma that goes into a project. And that's where PMI says, don't forget about this. You have to be competent, okay? So with large corporate failures, the role of ethics in today's ever so changing business environment, coupled with politics, is receiving increasing attention over time. Because again, guys, you do a lot of good things, you get ignored on it. You do one bad thing and the whole world collapses on you. So you want to make sure that we are going to be doing a really good outcome altogether. So altogether, guys, ethics is making a comeback here, okay? Why is ethics making a comeback? Because today, most large corporations have a code of conduct and a code that they want their project managers and their leaderships to incorporate ethics not only in their projects, but into their training programs and their employee orientation. And you probably saw it all together that, you cannot control, your own ethic desires. You cannot be unethical on one side and have a website telling the public how ethical you are. That doesn't really make any sense. So again, project managers have to, as a result, have uncompromising attitude on issues relating to ethics in project management. And today's discussion, learning activity that I will give you guys, which will be due next week in the start of our class, is following. Ethics is making a comeback. It's a comeback kid, guys. Today's discussion is about the baseline on ethical leadership, and you will respond to an issue on ethical dilemma faced by project managers on a daily basis when dealing with conflicts, interest on things like procurement. And my goal for you is that based on procurement, buying the items or not buying the items, what types of ethical leadership dilemmas would a project manager face? Okay. And what I want you guys to do is, like always, come to me with some outcome and hopefully with some scenarios and be able to give me your outcome on what do you believe is some ethical leadership dilemmas that you might face in the future, that you see project managers facing. Probably you saw Trent facing it as well. Who knows? What kind of scenarios do you see and how do you deal with those dilemmas? Okay. This particular question, again, open up a Word document, write it in, submit it to me. You're done. And this will be due not this week, but next week on Wednesday when we start class. Okay. Any questions?
Yes. So the question is, what type of ethical leadership dilemma will a PM face during procurement process?
Okay. So what do you feel they will face?
Bribery, things
Okay.
like that.
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
got
So
it. All right.
anything
Now,
that you see there's a dilemma, write it
okay.
in,
Thank
and
you.
how do you deal with it from your own perspective?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Here's I'm not sure if you want to call it good news or no news, but I didn't manage, but we sat down as a team. We canceled or canned the third case study, so you don't have to worry about it. No yay, no bay. Okay. But guys,
Yay, thank you.
maybe you want it.
Yay, action,
I'm not sure.
yay.
I'm not sure. Do you guys want it? I'll still give it out.
No, cancel it.
What's that,
Cancel
Janelle?
it.
You want it? No, I'm joking.
Oh,
joking.
no, we don't want it.
We don't want
Are you
it.
sure?
Let's use
I
it
heard
as
Mari say
class
something.
debate.
She's like, no, I want it. No, you don't want it?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. Thank
No.
you.
You sure?
Thank
Okay,
you,
okay.
thank you.
Positive? All right, no, I'm joking. Okay, so the third case has been canceled. Get it out of the way. So because it was canceled, I have more time with you guys to focus on the next 4 weeks. I am here to massage you, pamper you guys, coach you, cheerlead, whatever guys want from me. I'm here to help you. So what I want to start you guys off with is the final analysis paper. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you some outcomes on it because it's a very big paper. As I mentioned, if you did really well on, well, you're going to get the results very soon. If you did well in your midterm, doing well on your midterm, your final paper should not be a problem. So the final analysis paper is going to be due on Sunday of Unit 11. Okay. So again, guys, I need the items as soon as possible. So that's why they cancel the third case. Okay. Because a lot of times what happens is that, as you guys saw, and I kind of put it in the Gantt chart, I noticed class was very dry, and I do admit week 7 is when students start not liking me, and I do not want that. But I kind of showed you that there's an 11-week project, and this class is an 11-week project in total. But some students, for some reason, they think that this class can be stretched to like 12, 13 weeks. It cannot, okay? We're done in 11 weeks. You have 2 weeks freedom, and then you're back again for your next semester. So your final analysis paper is due Sunday of Unit 11, okay? It's worth about a quarter of your mark, okay? And it's basically the same exact kind of layout as your midterm paper. Yes, Jide.
All right. So the one you are canceling is the one for Unit 10, right?
Sorry?
You canceled Unit 10 assignment.
No, the Unit 10 assignment it's still on, okay? But we have a Unit 10. We have a group work. We also have a final paper. So they're two different things.
Okay.
The case number 3 I canceled, which was supposed to be done Unit 8.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So basically, right now, guys, as of week number 7. You guys have basically final analysis paper. You guys have 2 more assignments that you need to do with your group and a couple of micro learning activities, and then you're done. That's it. Okay. So I wanted you guys to focus on this particular side of our class. So guys, in this particular one, you are required to submit a research paper on one of the project management topics listed below, and I'll show you it. The idea of the paper is to, again, delve a little bit deeper in a particular project, synthesize the material in a concise, healthy manner, and demonstrate some critical thinking. It's about adding value. Keyword, adding value, not regurgitating it. It's a mini, think of it as a mini literature review with examples you can give me, including usefulness of scholarly work. And again, how do you find scholarly work? I've given you guys documents and paperwork of articles that you can use. And basically what you're going to do is very similar to the midterm, but in the midterm, you had a case, you had questions, you had a project manager, you had scenarios. Here you have nothing. You have a white piece of paper. You have basically a line of your topic, and then you go into it, okay? So it's basically reporting back on what the literature says and not particular an opinion piece per se. Like Ajax, but you are encouraged and expected to critique the literature, what you think about it. You first have to tell me about the topic and then offer your opinion on it. If you like it, you don't like it, you want to utilize it, you're against it, you're for it, whatever it is, I will listen to it. And the analysis paper should address the majority of the project management process throughout the course. And again, the layout of your final paper should be APA format. You must have now, instead of 2 academic sources, 4, maximum 2, which can be the textbook as well. So again, you can look at our lecture and come down to decide on where you would like to point out your article, where it's coming from. The remainder should be peer-reviewed articles if you would like. Again, the paper is around 2,500 words, give or take. You're looking at about 250 words in length, give or take. Again, please remember, guys, I'm not in the house of quantity, I'm in the house of quality. So if you're below that, even like 2,000 words, whatever it is, as long as you get to the point of it and I can understand it, shouldn't be a problem. Okay. If you want to break out the paper nicely here, the paper should have a title page, references, and bibliography at the end. And it is expected that your introduction should be about 10%. So that's about 250 words. Research the body should be about 1,800 words. And the remainder, like 500 words, should be about conclusion, application, reflection, closure, and what you think about the topics. Okay. So I left it out last but not least. I've given you guys 6 topics, and I have another bonus for you guys. The 6 topics that I approved are the following, okay? These 6 particular subjects you can do. However, I will give you another option, okay? So the 6 approved topics is you want to create a final analysis paper on talking to me about developing high performance project team, organizational change management with project management, how to create organizational change, policies, attributes within project management, how to create leadership with agile project management, developing leadership behaviors for project management, doing effective project management communication plans like we saw today, and managing the project stakeholders, my favorite, the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? However, these are 6 topics, okay? And they're very limited. If you decide that you have a new topic, okay? And you want to use that topic altogether, you have to tell me between week 7 to week number 10 at the latest that you want to modify your project. You have to get in contact with me either on one-on-one. You have to get in contact with me on email, private messaging, Moodle, whatever it is. You have to tell me, all right? The last thing I want to do is come week 11, you are going to write something and it has nothing to do with project management, what we talked about, and God knows what, it might be a problem, okay? If you are thinking of a new topic and you're afraid to tell me, don't be, okay? I've taught this class for 13 semesters now, okay? And I'll give you a breakdown on percentile. If I had 100 students and 100 students change their topics, okay? 93% got approved, okay? 93%, that's some good numbers there, okay? I'd say 6% of them, okay, 6 out of the 100 students, possibly they gave me a theme. Either the theme was too long, misunderstood a little bit, or I had to modify it. 6% of them, I told them, listen, it's good topic, okay? However, instead of doing, technology change, do organizational change, okay? So we had to change it just a little bit, just tweaking modification, okay? I always think about the student side of things, okay? And I will agree on it. And then only 1%, one person gave me a topic that was completely off. That was, I couldn't even change it, okay? So I had to tell a student, sorry, student, you have to go back and you have to find a new topic. You either pick the 6 topics or you have to give me a new topic altogether. But, okay, if you like any of the 6 topics, you don't have to tell me anything about it. You can keep it till week 11 and then let me know. But the biggest worst omen you can do here is make a new topic, surprise me, and then all of a sudden it's like week 11 comes in, I open it the last day that's available. I look at it and then I'm like looking at looking at this guy. I'm like, what is this? Okay. So please, guys, I make notes. All right. I write down. If you want to make change, just let me know. That's it. Let me know and you'll be good to go. One sec, we got the fan mail. Hi, Professor. Are we still having learning activity this week? Leah, yes, we are. And it's available on your important announcements. I left it there. Please look at it. So guys, in today's, the final analysis paper, again, it's broken down the same way as the midterm paper, okay? So there's 3 different scenarios I'm going to look for. Number 1, critical analysis and research. The depth of the background summary, what research supported your ideas, appropriate research academia, 30 points each. That's 60%. Communication, language clearly and effectively, information organized intelligently, holistically, proper introduction and conclusion, 15, 10, and 5 points. And then attention to detail, literally a freebie. Okay, it's a freebie. APA referencing format, 5 points. Spelling and grammar, just do a spell check, 5 points. Altogether, 100%. Where do students kind of falter here, guys? Students usually falter around here. Okay, come on, around here. They don't give me something proper. Usually this ends up being like, I see usually it's like 20. Okay, and here's like 18. So all of a sudden, the students usually get like 38 out of 60. Okay, the other ones, they get like, 28, 9. Okay, and if you do the math here, just a quick math, I just gave you a scenario here where a student might not do well in critical analysis. You're looking at somebody who's getting like, a B, which is not that bad. But the problem is the range starts with like, I've seen sometimes like 15 out of 60, unfortunately, all the way to the highest. I think the highest I've probably given is like a 48. Okay. So again, if you get like 15 out of 60, it's not going to turn out nice. And unfortunately, that leads you in like just a barely passing. Okay. So please, guys, if I'm giving you like strategy in week number 7 ahead of week 14, focus on this. Okay. I want you to be either on average or above average. Okay. I want to make sure you get a really good mark here. If you did really well on your midterm paper, which I'm going to give you guys very shortly, you shouldn't have a problem here. Yes, Mari.
When you mark the midterm paper, can you put down a breakdown for the rubric? Because I realize on some of the other cases, it's just a mark. There's no breakdown of the rubric.
Yes, you have to give me a request for it because unfortunately, the rubric that I've given, okay, there is a rubric that everybody receives. It's a document. I cannot upload a document on it. So what I can request is that I can give you it. Just send me an email and let me know what you're looking for. If you're looking for a midterm rubric, let me know and I'll give you that one out for sure.
Okay.
But I use these rubrics as a cross-reference for you guys of what I'm looking for. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else you guys want me to
No
highlight here?
question, Professor.
No question. Okay. All right,
Sir,
guys. So
I do one question. So just to confirm, this final analysis paper is not necessarily our opinion. It's basing whatever we research or whatnot, correct?
what the 6 topics right now that are approved. So you take one of the topics,
And
you
just
start
research it.
you write about those scenarios. You look at these developing, your ideas from it, and then If you want to agree on it, disagree on it, it's your call. But I want you guys to know about the fundamentals, break it apart in the research, the report, make sure you have a conclusion on it. And the conclusion usually can open you up to your own opinion, but focus on the core, the fundamentals of these particular subjects. And if you don't like those subjects, let me know if you have a new topic and I will either approve on it, modify it, or at the rarest, disapprove on it. Okay. All right. Any further things that you guys want to mention here? Everybody's clear? Okay, so guys, week 8 case study canceled. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. Learning activity is available right now. If you go to important announcements, learning activity number 7, it's under unit 7. You click on it. I put it down below. Please look over the topic, write me what you think about it, and you're good to go. And final analysis paper has been officially released. Okay. Is everybody okay on the same page here?
Sir, I'm gonna ask. I missed the learning activity 6. Is it right that that's in class? The last time?
The learning activity 6, I think it was learning activity 5 that was in class. Even no,
Yeah.
wait, yeah, learning activity 5 was in class, but learning activity 6 was written. If I'm not mistaken.
I thought
Well,
it's in
hold on.
class too. Can you check, sir? That's
No,
why.
but I wrote it down for you. So were you following us in our class? I just
Yeah,
got to go
yeah.
back to it 1 second. So learning activity number 6.
That was last week. We did it in class.
Yes. So yeah, sorry. That 5 was done by paper. 6 was the in-class one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So 6 was in class. So no, wait. Let's go back. 5.
No,
5 was,
5
hold on,
was in
1 second.
class.
Yes, 5 was in class. The 6th
6
one
was-
was due.
Yeah.
Was due. Okay. So the
Oh,
number
so the
7. So number
okay, sir.
7.
So
Number
okay.
7 is also going to be next week.
Okay. So can you give me a chance to submit it because I missed it? Like I thought it's in class. Because it
But
says here in class.
were you in class when we did it?
Yeah.
So how come you did not take note? And did you see that it was available on the learning activity?
Yeah, I saw it in here in class individual will
By the
identify
important
themselves.
announcements?
Yeah. The framework change. It says
All right.
in class
All right.
individual will identify
But just
themselves.
send me an email because like we gave you a week to do it. I'm not sure why you did
Can
not
you
do it.
check your important announcements, sir? Because I asked Mari. Mari, did you do it?
Guys?
I thought it was an in-class assignment. when we
No,
were
week
there
5
last
was
week.
unit 5 was an in-class assignment.
Yes,
So
Professor.
unit number
I
6
have
was
the
due.
same. I have the same problem, Professor. Sorry, because
but-
we think just give us a little time, please, to send you an email right now. Today means to the night.
Okay, but like I gave you like a week to do it, and
Yes,
underneath we discussed it.
Professor, if you see, I have very, very poor connection, and also I have cut on on my network between class event. My network is so bad during this week,
Right.
and I don't know if I can even have access to a network after your class or not for my next class because of the situation in Iran right now. It's a little tricky and it's not good, like political issues. Because of that, I'm trying my best to complete it and send an email to you. If you give me a chance, please, I will try
Okay.
my best to do.
Okay, but who else has a question? Okay, but like guys under here, like again, it was just written here. So I'm not sure like why one person says one thing and then another person just like follows suits here. You got to follow like right here in important announcements. And again, in unit number 7, okay, same thing with unit number 7, I've written it down below. Okay, so you cannot just like guesstimate what we need to do. You got to look at it. Okay, I'm not the important announcements are very, very important for you guys. I put it down for you guys to
Yes, Professor. You're right,
Okay.
but I also had problem for having access to model, my model, because
whole
of
week?
restriction here. Yes,
The whole
for a
week?
week, more than a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see what I can do, okay? Because like right now, like I gave the syllabus, okay, to the dean. So to extend it, I have to get the authorization on it, okay?
Thank you so much,
So I'll try
Professor.
to do my best, but again, like you guys have to be on top of your game. 168 hours every week you have to complete something, you have to complete it on time, because if you don't, then unfortunately, like I cannot just open it easily. I need to get authorization to do it. So just bear with me here. I'll see what I can do. It's still around, like the dean usually arrives around 9:30. I'll see what I can do. I'll try to do my best here, okay? With I can't promise here, but I'll try to do my best on trying to get to you guys as soon as possible.
Thank you,
Please,
Professor.
I'm
Because
begging you
if you
guys, please read over the important announcements. And if you see LA6, LA7, read over and then do it, okay? Don't leave it till the last minute. We talked about last week. You know, you can be in trouble, that's okay. Just let me know in advance. Just don't leave it till last minute. Because at the last minute, I have to talk to the other stakeholders and figure out what we have to do here.
Yes, Professor, you're right. Sorry for that. And also,
No worries.
if you say and ask Dean, Mana is from Iran. I don't know, Mr. Pavlos, I think so. Did for last term, give some regulations for Iranian students that we have time for every assignments, and all because of internet issue. Professor, it's so bad for us. Internet issue is a lot here, and because of that, he gave us something like a paper full of regulations for submission, late submission. And also I do a late submission for all of my courses this term, but I'm trying my best to do at the time before due date.
Okay.
It's not, I'm so sorry for that.
Okay.
Because of,
I right now, like, we can go into the conversation, but I have to. He comes in at 9:30, so I have to send him an email and see what the scenario is. Okay.
thank you,
And then
Professor. Thank
he
you
makes or
much.
breaks it. Okay.
Yeah, Professor, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So guys, LA7 is not in class. It's to be done by paper, and you submit it, please. Okay. Please submit it, get it to me, and make sure you can complete it. Okay. LA6, if you did not do it, still wait in. I'll still see what we can do here, but there's no promises. I'll see what I can come up with and see what I can do with you guys. Okay. But again, guys, a focus right now on the 25%. Please make sure you can complete it, get it to me on time, and eventually make sure that you can have a good topic, a topic that you like to work on. If you don't like those topics, please let me know what topics you want to do, and hopefully make sure you can complete it on time. Yes, Jide.
Can we start working on it now? Is it allowed?
Yeah, if you want to work on it since week number 1, you can do that. Okay.
I mean, the final test.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you might miss out on is that we have a couple more sections we want to talk about. So there might be a topic like outsourcing or project closure that might be of interest to you. You can start looking at it and then modifying it. It's your call.
All right.
It's a final analysis paper. I will only dictate it later on how it might look like.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good stuff. All right, any other questions? Nope. Okay, all right. So what we'll do is we'll call it a day. All right. Thank you guys for surviving the most driest class I would probably put it together. But nonetheless, next class will be fun. We're going to talk about the project manager. Then we're going to look at outsourcing, which is even more fun. And last but not least, we'll do project closure, and that will be unit number 10. Unit 11 is going to be RRCC, review, reflect, closure your careers. And we're almost at the end. Okay, can you imagine? Same time, April the 22nd, we're done. All right, we're done. We're almost at the end of it all. The glass looks almost full from this point.
March.
And then we'll hopefully, yes, that's correct, Mark. And then we are almost done. All right. Mark, did you have a question? Oh, well, sorry. Did you raise your hand or no?
No,
Okay.
I just wanted to correct you. There's no extension. It's March 22nd,
March 22nd.
not
Yes.
April.
Oh God. I don't know what. Listen, I don't know what month we're in. Okay, I'm in my cubicle here. Yes, you're right. March the 22nd is the last day. Then you get 2 weeks off, and then I guess the first semester is like April 2nd, 3rd, the first week or something like that. Okay.
April 10, I believe.
April the 10th. All right. Well,
So
that's
it's 3
that's even
weeks
3 weeks
vacation.
again. Oh my God, you guys are
Isn't
living.
that nice?
That's fantastic. Go somewhere nice. Okay, go somewhere warm, nice. You can get really good deals. All right, guys. Okay, we're done for today. Let me see what I can do on the side of how I can please Mr. Pavlos here. But please, guys, don't forget, you need to complete your learning activity either in class if it's directed or by a single date as given. Okay. So guys, have a good one. Stay safe, stay warm. Have a fun day today, and I'll see you guys here next week. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good day. Thank
You
you
too.
so much, and sorry again.
No worries, no worries. All the best.
Bye, Prof.
You too. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. All right. So I'm gonna